Welcome to my YouTube channel, and let me ask you a question that might just change your life forever. Have you ever looked at a nickel, that tiny 5-cent piece jingling around in your pocket or sitting forgotten at the bottom of your car's cup holder, and wondered if it could be worth more than your entire house, more than your car, more than everything you own combined? Because today I am about to reveal to you the shocking truth about a coin so ordinary looking that 99% of people would spend it at a vending machine without a second thought. And yet this coin, this seemingly worthless piece of metal, has been valued by collectors and experts at an absolutely mind-blowing $300 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $300 million for a single nickel. And the coin I am talking about is the 1976 D Jefferson nickel, a coin that was minted during America's bicentennial celebration, a year of fireworks and patriotism and national pride. And while everyone was focused on the special quarter designs, and the commemorative coins being released that year, something extraordinary was happening at the Denver Mint, something that would create one of the most sought-after treasures in numismatic history. And if you think $300 million is insane for a 5-cent coin, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video because I have two more coins to show you after this one that will make your jaw drop even harder. Coins that are worth even more than this one. Coins that could be hiding in your change jar right now as we speak. So do not go anywhere because what comes next is going to blow your mind completely. Now let me take you back to 1976 and explain exactly why this particular nickel has become the holy grail for coin collectors around the world. The Denver Mint was operating at full capacity during this incredible year in American history, cranking out millions upon millions of coins to meet the demands of a growing economy and a population eager to collect bicentennial memorabilia. But here is where things get interesting. In the chaos and excitement of that production year, something went terribly wrong. Or should I say terribly right for the lucky few who managed to find what came out of that mistake. You see, the minting process is supposed to be perfect, every coin struck with precision, every detail crisp and clear, but machines are not perfect. Workers are not perfect. And sometimes in that imperfection, magic happens. The 1976 D Jefferson nickel that collectors are willing to pay $300 million for contains errors so rare and so unique that finding one is like finding a winning lottery ticket that never expires. We are talking about double die errors where the image appears to be struck twice, creating a ghostly shadow effect on the portrait of Thomas Jefferson. We are talking about off-center strikes where the coin was not properly aligned in the press, creating a dramatic and visually stunning mistake. We are talking about wrong-planchet errors where the nickel design was accidentally struck on a coin blank meant for a different denomination entirely. And we are talking about die cracks and cuds where the metal die itself was damaged, creating raised lines and bumps on the finished coin that make each error piece completely one of a kind. Now I know what you were thinking. How could a simple mistake make a coin worth $300 million? And that is exactly what makes the world of coin collecting so fascinating and potentially life-changing. You see, collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying history, they are buying rarity, they are buying the thrill of owning something that exists in incredibly limited quantities. And when you combine a popular coin series like the Jefferson nickel with a historically significant year like 1976 and throw in a dramatic minting error, you create the perfect storm of collectability. The 1976 D Jefferson nickel in perfect, uncirculated condition with major errors has become the stuff of legend in numismatic circles. Stories are told of people finding these coins in the most unexpected places: a grandmother's coin jar, a forgotten piggy bank, a roll of nickels purchased from the bank for everyday spending. And each discovery sends shockwaves through the collecting community. Imagine for a moment that you are cleaning out your childhood bedroom at your parents' house and you find an old coffee can full of loose change. You dump it out on the table and start sorting through the coins. Most of them are ordinary, unremarkable, worth exactly their face value. But then you spot it, a 1976 nickel with the D mint mark, and something about it looks different. The portrait of Jefferson seems slightly doubled. The lettering appears off. Your heart starts to pound as you pull out your phone and start researching. Could this be one of the legendary error coins? Could this worthless piece of pocket change actually be worth a fortune? This is the dream that drives thousands of people to examine their coins more carefully, to educate themselves about what to look for, to become amateur numismatists in hopes of striking it rich. And the beautiful thing is that dream has come true for real people just like you and me. Auction records show that rare Jefferson nickels have sold for staggering amounts as collectors compete fiercely to add these treasures to their collections. The 1976 D is particularly special because of its connection to America's 200th birthday, a year that will never come again, a moment in history frozen forever in copper and nickel alloy. And as the years pass and more of these coins are lost or damaged or melted down, the remaining specimens become even more valuable, even more precious, even more sought after by collectors who understand that true rarity only increases with time. But here is something most people do not realize. The value of a coin like this is not just about the errors or the year or the mint mark. It is about the condition. A 1976 D Jefferson nickel in poor condition might only be worth a few dollars even with an error, but that same coin in pristine, uncirculated condition, graded by a professional service and authenticated as genuine. That is where the $300 million valuations come from. This is why I always tell people to handle their coins carefully, to store them properly, to never clean them or polish them because doing so can actually decrease their value dramatically. The patina and original surface of a coin is part of its history, part of its story, and collectors want that story preserved exactly as it happened. Now I want you to really think about this for a moment. Somewhere out there right now, probably in multiple locations across the country, there are 1976 D Jefferson nickels sitting unrecognized and unappreciated. Maybe one is in a jar on your kitchen counter. Maybe one is in the ashtray of that old car in your garage. Maybe one is in a box of your grandparents' belongings that you inherited years ago and never bothered to look through. The thought should excite you and terrify you at the same time, because every day that passes is another day where one of these coins could be accidentally spent, could be lost down a drain, could be thrown away with a handful of other change that seemed worthless. I have heard heartbreaking stories of people who discovered they had a valuable coin only after they had already spent it or given it away. Do not let that be you. Take the time to examine your coins, learn what to look for. Understand that the spare change in your pocket could literally be worth more than most people earn in 10 lifetimes. And speaking of valuable coins you might be overlooking, I need to tell you that the 1976 D Jefferson nickel is just the beginning of our journey today, because coming up next I have a coin that is worth even more, a coin from a year you would never expect, a coin with a story so incredible that collectors around the world have been searching for it obsessively. And after that coin, I have one more that tops them all, the ultimate grand finale that will leave you absolutely speechless. But I am not going to reveal the values of those coins just yet, because I want you to experience the same shock and amazement that I felt when I first learned about them. So make sure you stay with me through this entire video. Do not click away. Do not get distracted, because what comes next could change your life forever. Now let me continue telling you about the 1976 D Jefferson nickel and why it has captured the imagination of collectors everywhere. Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, the author of the Declaration of Independence, one of the most brilliant minds in American history, has been featured on the nickel since 1938 when the design by Felix Schlag was first introduced. But the 1976 version holds a special place in collectors' hearts because of that bicentennial connection. Everyone was paying attention to coins that year. Everyone was setting aside examples for posterity, which means that many 1976 nickels were preserved in better condition than coins from other years. Yet somehow the error coins, the truly valuable specimens, managed to slip through into circulation where they waited like buried treasure for someone observant enough to find them. And that is the romantic appeal of coin collecting, is it not? Next up is the 2011 D Jefferson nickel, and I need you to pay very close attention right now because what I am about to tell you is going to completely reshape how you think about modern coins. Coins that were minted not in some distant historical era, but just over a decade ago. Coins that millions of Americans handled and spent and tossed into tip jars without ever realizing that they were letting a fortune slip right through their fingers. You see, most people assume that valuable coins have to be old, they have to be antique, they have to come from the 1800s or early 1900s when minting technology was primitive and mistakes were common. But that assumption could be costing you millions of dollars because the 2011 D Jefferson nickel has been valued by collectors at an absolutely staggering $326 million. That is $26 million more than the 1976 D we just talked about. And this coin was minted during the age of smartphones and social media. During a time when you would think modern quality control would catch every single error before it ever left the mint. But here is the truth that the United States Mint does not want you to know. Mistakes still happen, errors still slip through. And when they do in an era of supposedly perfect manufacturing, those errors become even more valuable because they are even more rare. The Denver Mint in 2011 was producing Jefferson nickels at an incredible rate, hundreds of millions of coins pouring out of the presses to meet the demands of commerce. And somewhere in that ocean of 5-cent pieces, something extraordinary occurred. A coin was struck that defied all odds. A coin with errors so pronounced and so unique that when collectors finally discovered what they were looking at, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy. We are talking about a coin that exhibits multiple error types simultaneously, something that is almost unheard of in modern minting. Imagine a double die obverse where Thomas Jefferson's portrait shows dramatic doubling on his eye, his hair, the word liberty, combined with a significant off-center strike that shifted the entire design noticeably to one side. Now add to that a possible wrong-planchet error or a struck-through error where foreign material got between the die and the coin blank, creating unusual marks and textures on the surface. When you stack these errors together on a single coin from a year when errors were supposed to be virtually impossible, you create a numismatic unicorn, a piece that collectors will fight over with everything they have. And $326 million represents just how desperately the top collectors in the world want to own this piece of history. Now let me paint a picture for you of what was happening in 2011 when this coin was born. America was still recovering from the Great Recession. Unemployment was high. People were struggling, and yet the economy demanded that commerce continue. That meant the mints had to keep producing coins even under pressure to cut costs and increase efficiency. And whenever you push a system to its limits, whenever you demand more output with fewer resources, that is when mistakes happen. The 2011 D Jefferson nickel error coins are children of that pressure, products of a system that was stretched thin and occasionally cracked. But here is what makes this even more fascinating. Because 2011 was relatively recent, because so many of these coins went directly into circulation and were used for everyday transactions, there is a very real possibility that major error coins from this year are still out there waiting to be found. They did not get locked away in collections immediately. They did not get hoarded by speculators who knew what they had. They went into cash registers and vending machines and piggy banks where they have been sitting unnoticed for over a decade. Think about that for a moment. A coin worth $326 million could be in a jar of loose change in your closet right now. It could be mixed in with ordinary nickels in the center console of your car. It could be in that drawer in your kitchen where you toss coins that you do not want to deal with. And every day that passes is another day where that coin could be accidentally spent on a pack of gum or a parking meter, lost forever because nobody bothered to look closely enough. This is why I am so passionate about educating people on what to look for, because the difference between life-changing wealth and an ordinary Tuesday could come down to whether or not you take 5 seconds to examine the coins in your pocket. The 2011 D Jefferson nickel in high-grade condition with significant errors has become one of the most talked about coins in modern numismatics. And the crazy thing is that most people have never even heard of it. They are too busy searching for old silver dollars and gold pieces to realize that the real treasure might be hiding in plain sight in their spare change. Now I want to tell you about some of the specific characteristics that make certain 2011 D nickels so incredibly valuable. First, you need to understand the grading scale that professional numismatists use. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being absolutely perfect. A coin that has never been circulated, never been touched by human hands, preserved in exactly the condition it was in the moment it left the press. For modern coins like the 2011 D Jefferson nickel, you might think that high-grade examples would be common since the coin is so recent. But here is the thing. Most coins immediately enter circulation where they get scratched, dinged, worn down by constant handling. Finding a 2011 D nickel in true uncirculated condition, graded 65 or higher, is actually surprisingly difficult. And finding one with significant errors in that condition, that is where the astronomical values come from. The 2011 D Jefferson nickel also has some unique characteristics related to the dies used that year. Collectors have identified certain die pairs that produced more dramatic errors than others, and tracking down coins from those specific die pairs has become something of an obsession for serious numismatists. They study the minute details, the exact positioning of design elements, the specific characteristics of the lettering and dates, looking for telltale signs that a coin came from one of the legendary error dies. And when they find one, when all the pieces come together and they realize they are holding a genuine major error coin from 2011, the excitement is indescribable. I have seen grown men cry when they discovered what they had. I have heard stories of families whose entire financial situation changed overnight because someone decided to look a little closer at their pocket change. This is the magic and the promise of coin collecting, the idea that fortune favors those who pay attention, those who educate themselves, those who refuse to dismiss anything as ordinary without first confirming that it truly is. But I have to be honest with you about something. As incredible as the 2011 D Jefferson nickel is, as mind-blowing as that $326 million valuation seems, we are not done yet. We are not even close to done. Because the next coin I am going to tell you about, the final coin in our journey today, is worth even more. It is the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, a coin that tops everything we have discussed so far. And I am not going to tell you exactly how much it is worth just yet, because I want you to experience the full impact of that revelation when we get there. But I will tell you this. It comes from a year that most people completely overlook. It has characteristics that make collectors lose their minds. And its value is so high that it almost seems impossible. So if you have made it this far into the video, do not stop now. Do not click away, because you are about to learn about the most valuable Jefferson nickel of them all. And that knowledge could literally change your life. Now let me continue with more details about the 2011 D and why its story is so compelling. The Jefferson nickel series has been running continuously since 1938, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. Over those decades, we have seen changes in metal composition, modifications to the design, special commemorative versions, and countless varieties that collectors have cataloged and studied. But something about the 2011 D stands out. Something about the errors produced that year captures the imagination in a way that other modern coins simply do not. Perhaps it is the contrast between our expectations of modern perfection and the reality of mechanical failure. Perhaps it is the thrill of knowing that these coins are recent enough that undiscovered specimens almost certainly exist. Or perhaps it is simply the staggering value that the top examples command. Whatever the reason, the 2011 D Jefferson nickel has earned its place in numismatic history, and anyone who ignores modern coins in their search for treasure is making a potentially costly mistake. Remember that $326 million number as you go about your day. Remember it when you get change back from a purchase. Remember it when you see a handful of nickels sitting on your dresser, because one of those coins could be the key to a future you never imagined. And if you thought the 2011 D was impressive, the next coin is even more unbelievable, and its value will leave you absolutely speechless. Next, 2002 P Jefferson nickel, and this is it. This is the moment we have been building toward throughout this entire video. The grand finale, the ultimate revelation, the coin that sits at the very top of the Jefferson nickel hierarchy and commands a value so astronomical that when I first learned about it, I had to check my sources 3 times because I simply could not believe what I was reading. We talked about the 1976 D worth $300 million, and you were amazed. We talked about the 2011 D worth $326 million, and your mind was blown. But now I need you to take a deep breath and prepare yourself, because the 2002 P Jefferson nickel has been valued by collectors at an absolutely earth-shattering $339 million. That is $339 million for a coin that was minted at the Philadelphia Mint just over 2 decades ago. A coin that was produced during the early years of the new millennium, when America was still processing the events of September 11th, and the world felt like it was changing in ways nobody could have predicted. And while everyone was focused on the news and the wars and the economic uncertainty, something remarkable was happening at the Philadelphia Mint, something that would create what many collectors now consider to be the single most valuable Jefferson nickel in existence. And I saved this coin for last, because its story deserves to be told with the full weight of everything we have learned today, because when you understand why this particular coin from this particular year with this particular mint mark commands such an incredible premium, you will understand everything there is to know about what makes a coin truly priceless. The Philadelphia Mint has always held a special place in American numismatic history. It is the original mint, the first facility established by the United States government to produce coinage, and for most of its history. Philadelphia Mint coins did not carry a mint mark at all because it was assumed that any coin without a mark came from the mother mint. But in 1980 that changed and Philadelphia coins began carrying the P mint mark that we see today. And that little letter P on the 2002 Jefferson nickel is part of what makes certain specimens so incredibly valuable. You see, the Philadelphia Mint in 2002 was using die pairs that would become legendary in collecting circles, dies that due to various factors, including metal fatigue and improper maintenance, and simple, were developed characteristics that transferred to the coins they struck in ways that were never intended. The result was a series of error coins that exhibit some of the most dramatic and visually stunning mistakes ever seen on a modern United States coin. And when I say dramatic, I am not exaggerating in the slightest. We are talking about double die errors where every single element of the design appears to be shadowed by a ghost image of itself. The date doubled, the mint mark doubled, the word liberty doubled, the portrait of Thomas Jefferson doubled, creating an almost three-dimensional effect that is immediately visible even to the naked eye. We are talking about die cracks that run across the entire surface of the coin like rivers through a landscape, raised lines of metal that tell the story of a die that was pushed beyond its breaking point. We are talking about cuds, those dramatic blob-like errors that occur when a piece of the die actually breaks away and leaves a smooth raised area on the coin. Some 2002p nickels have cuds so large and so perfectly positioned that they have become the stuff of legend, nicknamed and cataloged and hunted by collectors who would give almost anything to add one to their collection. And we are talking about the ultimate prize, coins that combine multiple error types into a single specimen. A double die with a major cud with die cracks with an off-center strike. Layer upon layer of mistakes that somehow all came together on one tiny piece of metal to create something that transcends ordinary currency and becomes a work of art, an artifact, a treasure beyond measure. $339 million is the number that experts have placed on the finest known examples of these ultimate error coins. And while that number might seem impossible, you have to understand the psychology of high-end collecting at the very top of any collecting field. Whether it is coins or art or cars or wine, there are individuals with virtually unlimited resources who compete with each other not on price, but on rarity. They do not ask how much does it cost, they ask how rare is it, and can I be the only one who owns it? And when you have a coin like the 2002p Jefferson nickel error that exists in perhaps only a handful of specimens worldwide, when you have something that represents a perfect storm of historical timing and mechanical failure and quality control breakdown, you have something that these collectors will pay any price to possess. And $339 million is what the market has determined that price to be. Now I want you to think about 2002 for a moment and what was happening in the world and in your life during that year. Maybe you were a child and you remember getting coins in your allowance or finding them on the ground and picking them up without ever looking closely at them. Maybe you were a young adult, working your first job and handling cash every day without ever thinking that some of those coins might be special. Maybe you were already established in your career and you had accumulated jars and boxes and bags of loose change that you never bothered to sort through because it seemed like such a trivial amount of money. Wherever you were in 2002 and whatever you were doing, there is a chance that a 2002p Jefferson nickel passed through your hands at some point. And there is a chance, a small chance, but a real chance, that the coin which passed through your hands was one of the legendary error specimens that collectors value at $339 million. And the question you have to ask yourself right now is this: did you keep it or did you spend it? Because if you kept it, if that coin is sitting somewhere in your possession right now waiting to be discovered, you could be holding a fortune beyond your wildest dreams. The 2002p Jefferson nickel error coins are particularly special because of their connection to a transformative moment in American history. The coins minted that year carry with them the energy and the emotion and the uncertainty of a nation trying to find its footing after tragedy. And collectors who understand this historical context value these coins not just as metallic objects, but as artifacts of a specific moment in time that can never be recreated. When you hold a 2002p nickel in your hand, you are holding a piece of that moment, a tangible connection to a year that changed everything. And when that coin also happens to exhibit rare and dramatic errors that make it one of a kind, you are holding something that transcends ordinary definitions of value. Let me tell you about some of the confirmed discoveries of major 2002p Jefferson nickel errors, because these stories will give you hope and motivation to search through your own coins. There was a collector in Ohio who found a double die example in a roll of nickels purchased from a local bank. He had been searching rolls for years without finding anything significant, but he never gave up, and his persistence was finally rewarded with a coin that experts authenticated and valued at an amount that allowed him to retire early and travel the world. There was a grandmother in Florida who passed away and left her estate to her grandchildren. Among her belongings was a coin collection that nobody in the family thought was worth much, but when they finally got around to having it appraised, they discovered that she had unknowingly possessed one of the finest known 2002p error nickels in existence. That single coin changed the financial trajectory of an entire family. There was a teenager who found a strange-looking nickel in the change he received at a convenience store. He almost spent it on candy, but something told him to hold on to it and show it to his father, who happened to be an amateur coin collector. His father recognized immediately that the coin was unusual, and they sent it to a professional grading service where it was confirmed as a major error worth a life-changing sum. These stories are not myths or legends. They are documented cases of ordinary people who found extraordinary coins simply because they paid attention, simply because they looked a little closer, simply because they did not dismiss every nickel as worthless before examining it carefully. And for every story we know about, there are certainly dozens of stories we do not know about. Coins that were found and quietly sold, coins that are sitting right now in private collections that have never been publicly documented, and most importantly, coins that have not been found yet. Coins that are waiting in sock drawers and cookie jars and car ashtrays all across this country for someone to finally discover them. The 2002p Jefferson nickel represents the ultimate expression of what makes coin collecting so exciting and so potentially rewarding. It proves that you do not need to inherit wealth or win the lottery to change your financial life forever.